the architect knows all or
Right.
the next part. In reality, that's not true.
As an architect, what are the things are you expecting from a developer or a senior developer to become an architect? Like, why we need an architect? If complex problems comes to you, how do you solve such a problem? Yeah, welcome to my show, Shiva. I'm really blessed to have such a conversation with you as an inspired person. So, Shiva, before get into the further details, so can you explain me or can you share your experience about the architecture journey?
Uh, sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's pleasure being in your channel. Now, talking about my architecture journey, I've been in the industry for around 18 years, but my total experience professionally is around 21 years. So
Wow,
initially, I started as a trainer slash lecturer after completing my engineering.
that's so
Uh,
impressive.
couple of,
Okay.
yeah, a couple of years I started working. Uh, I love networking, so I was teaching all these networking courses, and then obviously I developed a passion for technology. And when I got the first chance, I got into the industry. Initially as a developer, struggling like most of the freshers. And then I picked up, I was very passionate to learn because I come from a background where uh, getting into a degree, completing was very, very new. I'm kind of the first graduate in my family, so you can
Oh,
understand.
that's quite impressive. Where you come from, actually, Shiva? Are you from Tamil Nadu or somewhere else?
No, I'm basically my native is Tamil Nadu, but my parents or my great grandparents migrated to Kolar, where they were working in the mines, and then
Oh, exactly. I was there in Kola for around 1 week for my friend marriage. Okay, I didn't know that you are from Kola. Okay.
yes, then I moved to Bangalore. So that's been my journey. So yes, I worked as a developer, and then I moved on to senior roles. And since I wanted to be in technology, at some point of time, like say 8 years, around 8 years, 10 years, I had to make a move. That is whether I should move in the leadership slash management direction
Mhm.
or stay in the technical. Since I love technology, I wanted to stay in the technical stream. Now, there was not much option. Today, there is if you want to stay in technology, but back then, you become a lead. Then the next option was architect. So I choose this architect role because now I get a chance not to develop, not to just work on the code, but to shape a product.
Exactly. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
So
when we meet first time, like you were I was developer, right? I was architect by the time, right? So how did you come into the mobile platform? Like you might be choosing the .NET, Java. By the time I could have seen a lot of .NET developers, or sorry, .NET architect and Java architect. But the first time I meet an architect who comes from iOS background and mobile knowledge, I'm really surprised by the time. Like it's 2015, I guess, right?
yeah, that was kind of the way I came into iOS and iOS developer was kind of a, a story, right? Like when I was working in this college,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the person, one of the persons who owns this college, returned from the US, and he was a big fan of Apple. And I was
Oh,
also a big fan of Apple. And he wanted to start something related to Apple ecosystem in India. Back then, nobody knew what was Apple. There was nothing about Apple development. So he began that startup, and he invited me, and that's how I got into this particular startup. And we approached Apple in India, and we started giving courses in Apple, like Apple certified courses. And then that's how the journey started. And we got into development and so on.
so you mean to say you are providing the professional courses on behalf of Apple? That's what you mean to say?
Yes,
Okay.
when we began, we were the first Apple authorized training center in India. Uh,
Wow. As an architect, so can you tell me what is the necessity of architecture or architect in any application developments? Why we need an architect? Because a senior developer can do anything, right? So what architect can do about the application developments?
okay, very good question. The answer to that is something like this. I'll take an analogy.
Mhm.
Let us say you're trying to build a home for two people, you and your family. Do you really need an architect and an architecture blueprint to build that house? Probably not, because
Right.
there are two or three people who are going to live in this house, and you exactly know what is your requirement. You can hire some builders, some workers, and you can start building. And it may work. And many people do that even today. Uh, and it'll last for a long time for you. Now, take an application. You're developing a small application targeting a very limited number of users. Then probably you really don't need a well-defined architecture. Uh,
Right.
you can just go and start building, and you put some very rudimentary architecture by yourself, and then start developing the application, and you keep changing them and maintaining them on the go. So in such cases, probably you don't need a well-defined architecture. You can go with something which is in your mind. You don't even have to document it.
Right.
Now, take the other side. You're building a big mall in India, let
Mm-hmm.
us say, in a metro, and you want thousands and thousands of people to use this metro, make money, build businesses. So if you're trying to build this particular mall, then definitely you cannot just go and start building it. You need a design.
Yeah,
You
we
need
need a lot of approval as well from corporate and some XY persons. Yeah,
exactly.
right.
So that is where the architecture fits in. Now let me explain you in detail
Okay.
why an application requires an architecture. An application would require an architecture if it has to be a very reliable and efficient application and also meets customer needs. Some of the things architecture provides is scalability. You can scale your application where thousands and millions of people can use it. Something like your mall, you can scale your mall, you can build new buildings around your mall. You
Right.
can you can maintain it. You can make it more performant. You can make it more secure, and you can also make it more reusable. So if an application has to be scalable, maintainable, performant, highly secure, and reusable, you would need this architecture. That is why we choose architecture. If your applications has to go to millions of people, and it has to be used for a long period of time.
If I'm a developer, like I'm a developer or a senior developer, if I want to go move into the architecture role, so as an architect, what are the things are you expecting from a developer or a senior developer to become an architect? Like maybe the person like you gonna interview such a person, right, to promote the person into the next level. So while you're interviewing such a person, what are the key things you're gonna expect?
Yeah, good question. If somebody wants to move into architecture, he may have to ask a couple of questions. One, do you want to be in a very technical role purely?
Mm-hmm.
If that answer is purely technical role, then he should choose the team lead, then principal architect, or sorry, principal engineer, and chief engineer. But if he wants a role where it's technical as well as design as well as stakeholder management,
Okay.
then he should choose the architecture path. Now, what I mean by that is, as an architect, you definitely are technical. You
Of
also,
course, yeah. Yeah.
but that itself is not sufficient. You should be able to visualize a product or visualize a design and bring that to reality. That doesn't just mean you know coding, you can do it. No. If you want to bring a requirement or a vision into reality, you need to do stakeholder management. Means you should be able to convince your solution with business, with the development team, with the quality, with the security team, with your customers. That is very important.
Okay.
And you should be a very good communicator. And you you should be a good listener. And you should be able to convince people because, as I said, as an architect, you develop a product, and to develop a product and to be successful, all these people have to come together and work with you.
People comes to you for an interview. So what are the targeting questions from your side to judge that candidate whether he can fit for the architect role or not?
The first thing is, of course, how good he is in the technology
Mm-hmm.
which he is supposed to work on. For example, if he is a mobile architect, how good he is technically in the different mobile platforms, iOS and Android and hybrid. So
Right.
what is his technical depth? Second is, what is his knowledge in developing architectural design and architectural assets? So given a problem, how well or how optimal he can build a solution. When I say optimal, it may not be the best solution, but a solution which works,
Right.
which satisfy a requirement. Then how well he can demonstrate stakeholder management, how well he can manage a situation, how well he can organize a, a solution workshop, for example. And the final thing is, what is his vision for the future? Uh, what does he think he wants to be in the next few years? So these are the things we look in, apart from definitely the technical aspects.
Yeah. I just want to move in depth about it. So you just say four different phases. in first phases you said that you're gonna test the developer with this skill Android and iOS. Probably any developer can crack this because obviously he will be doing the coding every day, so he can easily able to crack this one. So I can, okay, I say phase one would be easy for the developers. And the second phase you said that handling the stakeholders, right? So handling the stakeholder sense, I could assume that it's a business and security as well as a customer, right? So these people are you're talking about the stakeholder, right?
Yes.
So how do you judge this one? Like by giving any real time situation, how exactly you gonna judge that specific requirement?
Okay. Let us take an example.
Mhm.
Let us say a particular person wants to be an architect, and let us say we have a particular problem to solve. The problem is he wants to design, for example, uh, roles and permissions
Mhm.
for an application, let us say an
Got
e-commerce application.
right.
Now, this was just a problem statement, right? I have
Exactly.
an
Yeah,
application.
even I do hear this kind of requirement from top company like Microsoft, Google, and they're giving some solution like a build a Twitter application, build an Instagram kind of application, kind of right. So, but here the problem is, I'm a mobile developer. I know in and out of the mobile platform, like how the UI works. I can able to architect entire mobile side related stuff. Okay, so I'm very much familiar with that. But when you go to the interview, they are expecting that we want to build the entire system, entire ecosystem, like that includes a mobile as well as the service side code as well. So,
Yes.
so in this situation, how the developer can like maybe I'm a UI developer. If I go in, if they ask me to do such a design, I can do it for a mobile, iOS and Android both, by seeing that this is how the flow will be going. This is a different kind of things I will be having. This is my UI. This is my architect networking, and this is my database kind of things. Okay, but they suddenly when they ask the question about the server side, where it will be having a lot of service mechanisms and there are a lot of things like stabilizing the services and security layer and etc that I may not be aware, right? As a UI developer I may not aware. So having asking this kind of question, how is it a developer to know all this before he goes to interview, or is this something interviewer is expecting something more from the UX developer? How you
Okay.
how to take this
So,
point?
good question. So, so remember, we are talking about a senior developer who wants to become an architect, right?
Oh, got it. Yeah, okay.
So the
So
senior developer wants to be an architect, and he's kind of attending an interview. So if the senior developer wants to become an architect, he has to move out of that domain. Like, he's a mobile developer,
you nailed
he
it.
needs
Yes.
to understand the systems around it. Now, I'm not saying that he should design the complete, uh, take my example, roles and permissions. Now,
Mhm.
he should definitely know how these roles and permissions will affect your mobile. And I'm not saying this mobile architect is going to design the complete roles and permissions, but he has to now interface with other team members, maybe a database architect or the backend architect. Uh, so that collaboration he should be able to do. He should be able to work as this team and together develop the solution for this roles and permissions. And since he's a mobile architect, he should always give his inputs and always keep in mind that mobile is going to consume all these roles and permission services. So how best you can develop these solutions so that it fits into the mobile. So prepare. Like if you're a senior developer, you want to become an architect, take a year or so. Prepare for systems outside. Learn how these uh, backend work. What are the backend technologies we use? Uh, how do you interface that with the uh, mobile systems? Uh,
Got
what
it.
is security? How to implement them? What is DevOps? Learn more about DevOps. How to build
Right.
efficient DevOps systems. So just go out of your mobile. Well, though you're an expert in your mobile world, but go out of it and learn all this DevOps, security, backend systems, documentation, um, writing stories. Go and write some stories. Uh, Learn how to maintain Jira. So learn all this. This is expected from an architect.
You nailed it, Shiva. I'm really. This is a good point to have as a developer, as a senior developer. Want to go to the next level. It's really, it's a lot of information you shared with us. Thank you so much for that. So, the final question. So, let's talk about this as a mobile architect. Let's talk about this native application versus hybrid applications. So,
Okay.
which one you do prefer? And so what's your opinion on this from the business perspective?
Okay. So this question I've been hearing for the last 12 years.
Exactly. Yeah. All the time.
I remember when we were working together also, this question always came
Arise.
again and again. Now, the decision cannot be just arrived by yourself. You bring in multiple stakeholders. As an architect, lead this, bring the stakeholders. The stakeholders would include business, means product owners, and so on. Bring in other architects, like the backend architects, and DevOps, probably. And then you can drill down, what is this application all about? What do you want to do at the end of the day? What are the requirements? Now, the requirements and the vision of the application drives what technology it should use. Now, if this particular application is going to be a large-scale application, reaching thousands and maybe millions of users, and this application needs to be rolled out quite often with customers, and it uses a lot of external interfaces like cameras, or let us say some thumb scans, some third party devices. And if this application is using a lot of device features like GPS, camera, accelerometer, maps, and so on, then the application itself is saying you, hey, I should be as native as possible because
Right.
using these device features. I'm using low level APIs. So then it's native. If it's not so, then feel free to choose hybrid. But
Yeah,
there
but
is an option today where you can use a mixture of native
good.
and hybrid. So you can choose this way.
How the architect can track the complex solutions? Like you are the endpoint, right? So if developer has some problem, they're gonna ask a senior developers. If senior developer has a problem, then they're gonna ask architect, right? But architect have no point of contact to ask someone else to solve the problems, right? So by having this kind of hierarchy, if complex problems comes to you, how do you solve such a problem, Shiva?
Okay, so again, a very nice question. One thing I want to clarify. So there is this perception that the architect knows all,
Right.
or the expert. In reality, that's not true. And we should recognize that. The teams should recognize that. The architects themselves should recognize that.
That's a
Why I'm
bold answer. That's a bold answer, Shiva. That's a very
yes,
bold.
yes. When I started as an architect, I thought that I know everything, or I should know everything. But over years, I've learned that that's not true. So why am I saying that? Now, when there is a complex problem, yes, definitely the architect would be approached. But as an architect, am I going to solve this problem alone? The answer is no. Or I advise that we should not take that approach also. What we do is normally take a particular problem, understand why this problem is complex. Many a times, talking to stakeholders about the problem, when I say stakeholders, talking to the developers,
Right.
talking to the product owners, talking to the quality. This engagement itself will give you a better understanding of what this problem is. Is this problem really complex? And can there be alternatives? Can this problem be simplified? So these answers need to be kind of taken into consideration first. So you have a very complex problem, talk to the stakeholders and kind of define what this problem is, drill down or break this problem. Then you would get an answer whether this problem is really complex or it's actually being portrayed very complex. Many
Right.
times it happens that the problem is not really complex, but the way it is
Reported.
portrayed,
Right.
it's complex. So once you get that answer, then find solutions. So solutions to complex problems need not be complex. It could be very simple. And that is why I keep saying, as an architect, you drive the solution, but you necessarily don't define that solution. You talk to multiple people, talk to your fellow architects, talk to developers, talk to the POs.
But
Then
at some point in time, like if we couldn't come with the problem, if we couldn't come up with a solution at right point in time, at some point in time, we're supposed to say no, right? No, this cannot be done this specific time, or this cannot be done at this moment for due to X and Y and Z reason. So taking this no to the stakeholder back to the client or a business team, how complex it is, like because saying no from the developer perspective is very easy to the architect. We just convince you guys saying that, hey, this has this framework issue and we couldn't proceed with this specific framework. We explained you, like as a developer, I can explain you in details with noting some API errors and so and so. But taking this, converting this technological related complications to the business team is very complex from the architect perspective, right? How you guys put it in the right way to convince
yes,
the stakeholders? Saying no, especially saying the no to the business, is always complex, right?
yes. Yes, as an architect, you are empowered and you are supposed to say no.
Okay.
Okay. That's very important. You should also learn how to say no, because the team, the business expects you to say no at the right time. Otherwise, we will not be developing the right product. Now, there is a way to say no. The way to say no is, first, drill down the problem. And if you're saying no to a particular feature or a particular requirement, then you should very clearly identify what are the risks by doing the solution. Why you're saying a no? So why you're saying a no is because of risk 1, 2, 3, 4. And because of these risks, what are the impact to the business?
Right.
What is the impact to the customers? And don't stop there. You should also go with mitigations. Now, there are 10 risks.
Mhm.
There are some 5 business impacts. How do I mitigate it? Means, what are the alternatives? Okay, you're saying no to this solution, but the business has to go on. You have to continue to make money.
Right. Right.
Then what are the alternate solutions? You have to come up with that. And when you go to the management with this, they'll be very welcoming to accept this no, because you know the risks, you know the impact, and you also have alternate solutions.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shiva. Actually, we are running out of time. You just almost spent 40 minutes with us. Thank you so much for your time, Shiva. It's really a pleasure of mine to have you on my channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhupalan. Appreciate for giving me this opportunity.